Hey everyone, how are you? I'm just going to be demoing some of my favorite pedals. Some of them are new to me, or some of them are actually ones that I've had for a really long time and that I use live, and just kind of show how I use them live because I'm just a live player mostly. I don't do a lot of studio work, although I do record my own stuff and some stuff for fun, but mostly I'm in a live setting. So, it's not going to be comprehensive demos of any pedal or anything. It's just going to be kind of just the way I use them and how, my favorite sounds on them as well. So I'm just going to be sharing that with you. Today we're going to demonstrate my favorite reverb/tremolo pedal, the Flint. Now this is the DSP technology, so it's not like, true like analog or whatever, maybe tube-driven. It's obviously not tube-driven like an amp, but it sounds really, really close to like an amp reverb and amp tremolo, for instance. I had an old Gibson amp. I forgot what it was called. I should have thought of that before I started recording this. But I had this old Gibson amp once, and it was an odd EQ, so I didn't keep it for a while. It was cool, but for the way I play, it just didn't quite work 100% of the time. But the tremolo on it was amazing. And this reminds me of that and a lot of classic amp tremolos that I've heard through the years. Also got my trusty Strat today. I'll be testing it out with. This is an American Strat. It's kind of plain, but it's just, it just rules live. It's just got such great tuning and feel. And I'm beating it up a little bit here as we go. And then I'm going to play my Les Paul, and I'll talk a little bit about the Les Paul as well. But my opinion, the Strat rules for most pedals, and so, they'll kind of be mostly what I use and try stuff out with. But all right, so I'm going to go through my amps really quick. This is an Epiphone Blues Custom. It's a 30-watt amp, and it's 212, and it's kind of, to me, it's a little bit scoopy, slightly, but I've turned the mids up. I like a lot of punchy mids, but I also like a lot of bass and treble because I'm a rhythm player mostly, so I like to. So it just definitely provides that for me, that foundation. It's a great rhythm amp. It's a good lead amp, but it's a little, it's not quite as compressed maybe as some people would want. Reminds me a little bit of a Marshall or something, maybe, in that vein. But it's got its own unique thing that I like. And it's a really cheap amp, but I love it. I play it everywhere. It's gotten soaking wet. It's gotten like fried in the sun like all year long. And it just rules for some reason. It's awesome. And then my lead guitar amp, I usually do switching, and I can talk about that in another episode, but I switch between two different amps, and one of them I use for rhythm, and then one of them I use for lead. My lead guitar amp right now is a Bad Cat Cub 2 from like the early 2000s, and so it's designed by and built by Mark Sampson, who did Matchless stuff as well, and it's just fantastic. So I really love it for like the bridge pickups of, a single coil or a humbucker. I mean, it just rules, and it doesn't sound like thin or brittle or harsh or anything. It's like, and it's got a pretty wide frequency range. In fact, it's a 210. It's got like even probably too much bass for some people. But for me, I like a lot of bass. So I can either use it just by itself because I'm a very heavy rhythm player and like a lot of use a lot of bass notes and stuff to fill the space. Or I can dial it back and then just crank the amp, and it's just this nice, sparkly, it's pretty much like a Vox, in my opinion. Some Voxes that I've heard, if I start playing U2 stuff, it just sounds just like it. So, except it's a 210, so it's kind of got this mid punch to it. It's a very interesting amp. I love it so much right now. But anyways, so that's that. I usually boost my Strat signal like with a clean boost pedal. And right now I'm using one side of a Strymon Riverside. And I'll talk about that in another video. But I use it to boost the Strat a little bit, give it some more punch and kind of some presence and even some low end. Sometimes I'll pull up the low end. Again, I like a lot of bass, which I know most people aren't like me, but it gives it some more girth to work with and it drives the signal. So that way when I switch to like my Les Paul or something else, I mean, I used to use a hollow body sometimes, it wouldn't be such a drastic input signal switch. It kind of help even that out. So anyways, so I'll be playing through that. So first off, I'm just going to go through the basic settings of reverb on the Flint. And right now, I've got it set to what's called 60s. And sorry, we're shaking a little. So the 60 setting is like a spring reverb, and I have it on all the time, and you can see the decay is kind of short, not too long, but it's enough to give it some character. That may be too much for some people. And then the mix, and I like a lot of color to it because, especially playing live, like when you have a band. If you make these subtle little sounds in your pedals, and drive is one thing. It's good. It's probably good to be subtle with drive if you're stacking it. But other than that, I kind of like to dial in a nice sound and then sort of slowly make the color more drastic. So that's why I have this color knob way up, and you can see if I change that. It kind of darkens the reverb. It's not really drastic. But yeah, the 60s is like a nice smooth amp reverb. It's just beautiful, and I have it on all the time. If I'm playing a lot of rhythm parts, I'll go down a little bit. I usually stay right about there, and then, but if I want to slow down songs, I just kind of mess with the mix knob. Ever so slightly. You don't have to do much. So let's play a little bit here. I'll go up on the mix. It's nice. It just sounds like an amp to me, and a lot of people are really picky about their amp reverbs, and I'm not so picky because I do play a lot of clean, but everything I play is very rhythmic. I'm gonna kind of go back down on that. The next setting there, I really like. So this is kind of my electric setting, what I just start with. Maybe a little bit less than that, but that's just my basic. I keep it always on, kind of like if you had an amp reverb. And people who have great reverb on their amps probably don't need this pedal, although it is really nice to have some different options, as you can see on the reverb side. They've got the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So let's bump on to the 70s. Kind of go up a little bit and keep it the settings that are my way, that I like. And the 70s is a little more like a smooth sounding reverb. It's, I guess what I'd say is it's like a plate reverb in a way. And it kind of stays out of the way of the it's very nice. It stays more out of the way of the notes than like the spring does. And so that's probably something that would be really useful for a lot of people in a lot of different types of guitars, a lot of styles of music. I use the 70s setting for my acoustic guitar. So it really, even when I've turned it way up, it just kind of makes the acoustic guitar sound like it's in a room rather than a straight, dry, harsh, plugged-in acoustic sound. You know, it's like so harsh by itself. Oof. So it becomes my always-on reverb for acoustic, actually. And a lot of what I do, side note, is with my board, a lot of what I do is I use most of the pedals for both electric and acoustic, and I just kind of slightly make variations based upon the kind of set I'm playing, or if I use acoustic or electric with my board. So it's kind of a hybrid board. I mean, it's probably not most people's idea of a good hybrid board, but it's what I have right now. Looking at building a couple more boards, specifically for electric and specifically for acoustic. But for right now, I just enjoy going back and forth between different pedals on one board. And so, yeah, the 70s is what I use for the acoustic guitar a lot. And it kind of just really sounds like you're in a room, like a hall or something like that. And I believe it's supposed to be kind of going after like what a plate sound is. Sorry, this camera mount thing is ghetto. It's a lot shakier than I had envisioned, but. So let's go on to the 80s one. Now the 80s, perhaps that's more of what people would think of as a plate reverb. But I don't really think of it like that. It's a little more drastic. And it kind of has a little bit of a pre-delay, like you hit your signal and it kind of ducks it a little bit on the attack of the note. That's what it sounds like to me. Which may be a really good reverb to like solo with. That may be better. Yeah, that may be a better choice for somebody doing like a lead or solo playing. And it kind of has a little bit of a little bit of modulation on it too. It's just like basically a bigger hall. It's like you're playing in an arena or something, I guess, in the 80s. You know, that's what you think of for the 80s. Okay, let's go back and then just jam a little bit up for the reverb portion here. I'm going to use a little bit of delay in my loop, or maybe in my lead channel. that's a lovely, lovely sound. Okay, let's move on to just talking a little bit about the tremolo portion. And again, I'm going to go back to my normal settings, just the 60s reverb that I love. Okay, so first off, I'm going to show you the setting that I love to use as far as the tremolo goes. So there's the 60s, and I love to use just the it's called the 63 tube setting, and just kind of sounds like a nice warm tube tremolo. It's so beautiful. It just, so, this DSP technology, which is not, again, it's not tube or analog or transistor or any of those other things that like our old school pedals were, but still, it's so close to like having an amp tremolo. Oh, it's so beautiful. Adding a little bit of additional reverb to it. Oh, that's awesome. Yes, I love that so much. And so I just kind of vary the speed. I'll show you what that's like when you slow it way down. Or I recommend kind of keeping the intensity where I have it. I mean, you can definitely play with it if you want to just, jump into more of a drastic sound. That's pretty cool to do. It can be a neat effect, but, kind of somewhere around the middle is a nice... If you have guitar-driven music, that's just a nice place to start, I'd say. I'll go slow here. Maybe about like there. Go up a little bit on the speed. That's a great speed there. And then go really, really fast for more drastic. I found that's pretty cool when you add like delay to that. To kind of, or maybe you're using more reverb to get like a really drastic kind of picky, pulsing sound. Just nice and beautiful. I love it. So there you go. That's that's probably my favorite setting there, just like a tube tremolo. And so if you have a really nice again, if you have a really nice amp reverb or amp trim, then you may not need this pedal or you may not need these settings. But there are other great settings on here that are just really useful, nice to add color to like different parts. Especially live, they're just nice and full and clean and warm sounding. If you're looking for a really drastic sounding, crazy, wild sounding pedal for an effect, this is definitely not the one. This is just more of a straightforward, clean, it just sounds like an amp. It's just wonderful. And that's why I like it, because most of the amps that I use and I buy don't have trim or reverb on them. So I'm going to go do this harmonic tremolo. So that's going to sound like, your Hendrix kind of stuff. Which is really, really cool. I mean, it's not something I would use all the time, but I definitely use it because I get into the blues territory a little. So I did play the Star Spangled Banner this year for a special event in Georgia. For 4th of July, and I definitely used this setting. I cranked it up. I kind of went slow on the speed because it kind of has this wavy sort of thing going on. And it was the sound. I mean, it sounded just like Hendrix's Star Spangled Banner. It was awesome. Or, I guess for a simple soul like me, it got kind of close, But, it's not going to have quite the range that a normal harmonic trim or some of those other effects that he used, the old school ones. It's not going to quite have the range that it has, but it's kind of a fun effect to sound close. And it sounds like an amp, like one that would be in an amp or something, or maybe tube driven. Yeah. So I'm going to go real slow with it. Back down on the intensity a little bit. And let's do a little bit of loop for this one. This is pretty cool. Let's try that again. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. So that's that. I'm going to go to real quick to demonstrate the photo one setting. It's called, 65 photo. And I had to look because I just never use it, to be honest. But just a quick demonstration. It'd be a really unique effect for a specific part, in my opinion. But it's something I never really use. But you may enjoy it. You may find a specific part that you may use it for, which would be really cool, to get a pulsating sound. It's just more drastic. There you go. I guess maybe going really drastic on it and really fast may work. I don't know, it's kind of crazy sound. So anyways, I probably wouldn't use that very much. I'm just going to go back to my 63 tube tremolo. It's just probably the best setting, honestly, in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate with the Les Paul, and because I've been playing this Strat most of the time. It's also really nice with the Les Paul as well. So I kind of back off the drive a little. It's my normal setting. Now this is a early 2000s Korean Les Paul. You know, it's flashy, it's pretty. I bought it when I was 19 years old. No, yeah. Yeah. You know, it looked cool, and it played like a, Gibson Studio, so it's not bad. Never has been a bad player. I actually used to tour with this thing. My main rig was this, and an orange amp. I don't know if you guys have ever heard orange amps before, but the old ones, when they first came out with reissues, these were British-made, all-tube, Class A. They didn't have much to them. They had the two-channel one, which was quite popular. But I got the old AD30, was just one channel, just a gain and a master, and a little bit of EQ, and that was it. It didn't have any reverb, nothing. And I paired that as a head with a 212 cab, a 212 orange cab, and that thing just ripped. It ripped every stage. I mean, these metal players, they would have these, ugly looking half stacks. And I mean, some of them would sport the Marshalls, the 412 Marshall cabs and stuff. And this thing would just eat them. I mean, I'm sorry. It would just eat them for breakfast. And it was really clean as well. So for whatever reason, even though this is kind of a cruddy guitar out of the factory, it played decently. And I did some work to it quite a bit. And I beat it up. And then, so last year, actually, I put Mojo Tone pickups in it. Mojo Tone, they're like a 59 clone. And I really, really, really like them. I haven't played this guitar a whole lot because I mostly play the Strat, just because of, live is just so much more versatile. But this one just sounds really great. And, I do use it for a few songs, but it's kind of an intense guitar. But anyways, we'll do a little bit with the tremolo and the reverb. There's with my Epiphone amp. There's with my Bad Cat amp. So we'll do... anyways, I got to be careful on the gains. So yeah, I love this thing. It has the roar of a Les Paul, but it's got some snappiness. And that reverb just sounds like an amp reverb. It's so great. It's wonderful. So we'll do a little bit of a jam and just add a little bit of effects over top. I do like to use some delay, so apologies for that. It's a great sound, man. I just love it so much. But all right, I won't noodle too much because I kind of went pretty long talking about it's really two pedals in one. So of course it's taking a little bit longer, but yeah, I love these settings on there. This is what I use, and I'll talk about more of my board and what I use in other episodes. But yeah, I just love this thing a lot. Take care. God bless.